You might not agree with the verdict in the trial of the century, but it was a jury of peers that found O.J. Simpson not guilty. From La La Land to cases right here in Hampton Roads, the jury system, while not perfect, is still a critical component of justice in America. But now, in one of the nation's oldest courts, the jury duty system in Norfolk is in trouble. Norfolk's jury duty response rate is slightly lower than the national average. You might not agree with the verdict in the trial of the century, but it was a jury of peers that found O.J. Simpson not guilty. From La La Land to cases right here in Hampton Roads, the jury system, while not perfect, is still a critical component of justice in America. But now, in one of the nation's oldest courts, the jury duty system in Norfolk is in trouble. Norfolk's jury duty response rate is slightly lower than the national average of 30%, but recently the response rate dipped to unprecedented lows. The problem is so severe, a judge, and they rarely grant interviews, stepped from the bench to offer a grim assessment.
We've continued to have dismal response rates, and in some cases, less than 10% of those that are called in for jury duty are appearing, and it's having detrimental effects on our administration of justice.
Blame it on millennials, say the court, young adults who refuse to weigh in on the scales of justice. Over the past 12 months in Norfolk, 10,000 people were summoned for jury duty. 7,200 of them were no-shows. A demographic breakdown shows 7% of the no-shows were people from the greatest generation. 22% were baby boomers, 23% were Generation Xers, and a whopping 49% were the so-called millennials.
We'll summons 200-300 people to come in on a given day. 20 to 30 might show up, and even though you only need 12 technically for a jury trial, there's an opportunity to strike jurors and all that. We typically start with about 30 to get down to that 12.
If the trend continues, Judge David Lanetti and his colleagues on the bench worry trial delays could lead to guilty, dangerous criminals getting released from jail while innocent people remain behind bars. The matter is so serious, the court twice this year rounded up no-shows, hauled them into court, and slapped them with a fine. Even with such drastic measures, the court is still in a losing battle with the no-shows. The missing millennials crisis now has the system meeting young people on their own court, the World Wide Web. Clerk George Schaefer has a Jury Duty 101 video on YouTube, and he has digitized the jury duty notification and follow-up process.
We've purchased software that you register online. You can set reminders. We can text reminders to our jurors. We can email reminders to our jurors. We're trying to sort of meet them where they live.
And while millennials dominate protests across the country where there are cries of injustice, Schaefer says there's a more effective way for young people to have their voices heard in the justice system.
If you want justice, you're part of the solution. We need you here. And I would hope that everybody in our town would recognize their role and responsibility in that.